Hello everybody and welcome back to the multiplayer project. For last episode we did a little bit of bug fixing, but we mostly worked on the options menu. But realistically, this is a little on the loud side. Let me turn that down. There we go. Realistically, we probably don't want to work on this too hard right now, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. We'll put that there. We're going to work on maps this episode. Now, this is just going to be a framework for maps. We're not going to fully implement maps just yet. We're going to go ahead and move all of these things into the coming soon line, away from the long term, because we're starting to get to the point of some of these things happening quite soon. Logging out, I kind of feel like, is a minor to-do right now, as the music crescendos even further. There we go. So this is where I kind of feel like we are right now. So we're going to work on maps. And let's pull open the server for that. We will not need entity open, I don't think. Did I change anything in this? No, I did not. So yeah, we do not need entity open. We are, however, going to need to create ourselves a... if I can open the server. There we go. Actually, the server is still running. There we go. Let's turn that off from the other project. So in the server here, we're going to create ourselves a couple of new things. More precisely, only one right now. And so we're going to add a new item here. This is going to be a class, and it's going to be map.cs. Excellent. Inside the instance, we're going to need a couple of new things here. Right down here, let's just go ahead and make a private random. Excellent. Let's also create a public int seed, as well as a public map, which we just created, map. Excellent. Now inside of our instance, when we create it, we're going to need to pass in an int seed, as well as a tileset. Wonderful. Neither of those are being passed in right now, and we don't even know what tilesets are right now. We'll get to that. And strictly speaking, I don't know what they'll be in the future. We're going to just make an enum for now, but it's probably going to need to be something more than that. But just to make this actually work, for now it'll be an enum. And we are going to then say this.seed equals seed. We're then going to say random equals new random, and we're going to take in seed. Excellent. And then we're going to say map equals new map, tileset, seed. Wonderful. Of course, this constructor doesn't exist yet. We'll get to that. But first, I want to change our state update a little bit here, because now we're going to need to pass in not just data about the entities, but also data about the map. So right down here, right before, or rather right after we append our game state, we'll say if map.dirty, then we will, and we're going to calculate that basically the same way we have been with the dirty calculations. We're going to say string message equals map.toUDP message, which of course doesn't exist yet. We'll come to that. And the cat has decided that now is the time she has to come in. Oh man. The cat gets what the cat wants. I'm sorry. I will be right back. I apologize for that, and I have bad news. It may happen again in a moment, because the cat is being a cat, and walked away instead of through the door that she wanted to get through. So that's wonderful. For right now, we're just going to say sb.append, and we're going to append in message. Wonderful. And then we're going to say if message is not equal to nothing, just an empty string, then we are... Oh, I accidentally got rid of a curly brace there. There we go. Then we're going to add in sb.append, and we're going to append in comma. Wonderful. Now, at the end here, we need to strip this out if there are no entities. So let's just do exactly what we did before, and we will check to see if we end in a comma, and if so, delete it. if sb.toString ends with, and we want it to check to see if it ends with a comma, then we just do sb.remove sb.length minus 1, 1. Excellent. That's all we need to do in the instance for right now. Everything else is going to be done in map, although we have a little bit that we need to do in Game Manager. So let's open that up. And we are going to need a couple more things here. In our private field, we're going to do a public static random equals new random. And we're going to initialize this with something that I found online. I don't pretend to know how it works, but it returns a different seed that we're initializing it with every time, and I didn't really look into it too closely because it doesn't strictly speaking matter. I just want a different seed every time we fire up the server. So we're going to do GUID.newGUID.getHashCode. Wonderful. And again, I found it online. I don't pretend to know exactly how that one works. Other than that, we are going to need to, when we do our new instance down here, we're going to need to pass in our seed, and for that we'll just do random.next. And then we're also going to do get random enum value tilesets, which of course doesn't exist. And we're going to implement that right now. We'll put that right down here, and that will be, actually, that will need to be right down here, because that was in the namespace. So we'll do public static t get random enum value, just a nice little helper for us here, and that'll be t. And then we'll just do array values equals enum.getValues type of t. And then we'll return, cast that over to t, values.getValue random.next values.length. And the cat is going nuts again, so I'm going to try this one more time. We'll see if she actually comes in this time. And she did come in this time. Excellent, so there should be no more interruptions. I apologize for that, but that should be all we need to change in our game manager. Notice that this is now using system and system.collections.generic. Wonderful. So let's hop over to map, and we are going to need to do a couple of things here. In fact, quite a few things. First thing we need to do is public enum tilesets. And the only thing that we're going to have in here right now is test tileset. We're probably going to have to do this in a way other than enums, but we'll tackle that a little bit later when we're implementing tilesets. For right now, this'll do. So, we're going to need to make this a public class map, and we're also going to give this a private static read-only string builder SB. And we'll set that equal to a new string builder. Wonderful. Oh, I typoed read only. I was wondering why it was freaking out. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now we'll go ahead and create ourselves a region properties here. And we'll end that region. And we're going to do this much like we did with the flexible entities, where it only sends in the entity bits that are dirty. So we're going to do the same thing here. Private tilesets underscore tileset. And we'll also do private bool tileset dirty equals true. And then we'll do our property here. Public, if I can type it right, public tilesets tileset. And then that will simply be get return underscore tileset. Tileset. There we go. And then when we set this, underscore tileset equals value, and then we will set tileset dirty equal to true. Wonderful. Next, we're going to do the same thing with the seed. Private int underscore seed. And then we'll do private int underscore seed. Actually, not underscore. Seed dirty. That shouldn't be an int. That should be a bool. There we go. And then we will do a public int seed. When we get that, we will simply return underscore seed. And then when we set that, we will say underscore seed equals value. And we will say seed dirty equals true. Wonderful. And we'll also set this to default to true. I don't think that really makes a huge difference, but we'll just default initialize it. And then we'll need to do what we did before, which was simply public bool dirty. And that is simply going to be a get return. This is going to be underscore this is just going to be tileset dirty or seed dirty. Excellent. And then when we set this, tileset dirty equals value, and also seed dirty equals value. Wonderful. So that's our properties that we're going to need for right now. When we expand our tile sets and fully implement that, that's going to be where we're going to work on that, most likely. And also when we put in affixes. But for right now, this will do for our initial framework. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a constructor. Public map, and this will be tilesets, tileset, and int seed. Wonderful. We'll just do this dot tileset equals tileset, and this dot seed equals seed. Okay. And now for the actual meat of this class. Public string to UDP message. And we'll also need a public void tick, I think. Actually, is it just the entities that would tick? We might want to support the map ticking. So let's go ahead and do that, and we can support that just by calling right here, map.tick. Excellent. I don't know that we're going to have the map doing anything for right now. In fact, I know that we're not for right now, but we'll support it automatically ticking as well. Just in case we want to put some sort of timing in there or have it change over time or whatever. Those sorts of things would be possible. So for the toUDP message, we're going to start with return sb.toString. Easy enough. We're also going to say dirty equals false. And then up here, we're going to say if we're not dirty, then we're simply going to return an empty string, which we check for and compensate for in instance. Right here. If we're not an empty string, then we put in the comma. Otherwise, if we're not an empty string, then we put in the comma. Otherwise, we do not put in a comma. So that will support if we don't have anything to update. And then we will simply do sb.clear. And then sb.append, we're going to append in map, and then a curly brace. And then we'll put in, at the end, sb.append, a closing curly brace. There we go. We should also check to see if we end in a comma, and that's literally exactly the same as this, so we're just going to copy that and paste it there. Wonderful. So that will remove the comma if the comma is the final character there. And then we're going to need to just go through those two variables the same way we did in entity. If seed dirty, there we go, then we should do sb.append seed equals sb.append seed and sb.append a comma. We don't care about it ending in a comma because we already stripped that off. What if it ends in a million commas? Well, it won't. Yeah, it definitely won't. So, it'll only ever end in one comma. I don't know why I even brought that up. Next, we're going to say if tileset dirty, then we'll do sb.append And we will append in tile set equals, like that. And then sb.append, this will be int tile set. We'll cast that over to an integer. We don't need to send the whole name. We're just going to send an integer for right now. And we're probably going to keep it that way, realistically. sb.append, and then we'll just append in a comma. And there we go. We can now transmit data about our map, and in fact, it should automatically transmit over. Now, of course, we don't know what to do with that on the client side, and in fact, that will break everything on the client side, because the client side is not exactly expecting that information. So I'm actually going to close these things. Those are not currently required. Wonderful. Because we're not actually working on that little bit for right now. And did I actually change anything in Input Manager, or do I just have this open for no reason? I just have it open for no reason. Wonderful. We're going to hop into the Representation Manager here first. And we are going to give that two new variables here. Public map, public map, which doesn't exist yet, and private int seed. Excellent. And then we're going to head down to around over here. Right after we remove the header and the trailing single curly brace, let's check to see if there's a map update. So, if GameState .substring 04 is equivalent to map and an opening curly brace. If I can get an opening curly brace, there we go. Then we can say int next index equals GameState.index of. We want to go up until the next closing curly brace, because that is when we know that this occurs. Or rather, when we're done. We also want to add 1 because we want to include that curly brace. Then we can say map.fromUDP message, which doesn't exist yet, GameState.substring, and we'll go from 0 until next index. Wonderful. And now we will say strip out the map update to get just entities. So this will get it back to the state that it's expecting from here on out. Plus 1 extra for the comma in between map and the first entity. Excellent. And so we do that simply with GameState equals GameState.substring next index plus 1. Fantastic. So that's the Representation Manager's updates done for now. We haven't done anything else here, so we just need to hop back into Unity here and give ourselves a C# script, and this is going to be map, and of course map should really be in the representation folder, which we'll put in here, and we'll also clean up this representation folder a little bit by creating a folder here, prefabs, and we'll slap the entity prefab in there. And then we'll also create another folder here, and we'll call this scripts. And we will put entity, map, and representation manager into the scripts. Wonderful. We'll open up map here, and we'll see if... Yeah, map does not contain from UDP message. That is expected, because we have not implemented map yet. So we're going to get rid of those bits there. Now map is a mono behavior for the client. So what we should do is we should go ahead and create ourselves an empty here, and we will call this map. We will ever only have the one map, I think. We might be able to swap between them. Oh yeah, the map component cannot be found? Hang on, what do you mean? It's a mono behavior. Does this have a space in it? No. Okay, I'm not sure what I did wrong. Oh, it's because it hasn't recompiled, because we don't have a from UDP. So we'll go ahead and do a quick implementation here. Public string from, or rather public void from UDP message. There we go. Now it'll compile, and now we should be able to put this on. In theory, anyway. Still have a typo somewhere? Oh yeah, it takes an argument. Of course. This would be string message. Wonderful. Okay, so now we'll put the map component on there, and we'll also tell the representation manager, hey, this is our map. So now it knows. Fantastic. So, as far as the map goes, we should go ahead and do the same enum here. This is instance in the server. What am I doing? This is map. Wonderful. Outside of the mono behavior here, we'll do a public enum tile sets. And this is, for now, just going to support test tile set. But this is mostly, as I said, a framework just to get our data back and forth for right now. And we can actually implement tile sets full on a little bit later. So the map is going to need to know public tile sets, tile set. And actually, let's just give this another one here. Unused tile set. So it should, in theory, never be that. But let's actually have unused tile set be the first one. No, that's not going to work. What am I talking about? We can set it to that by default in the inspector, though. Then we'll take in a public int seed. Wonderful. And then we're going to need a couple more methods here that we're not really going to use yet. But it's going to be public void clear map. We're going to do public void. This is going to be generate map, as well as public void update map. And all of these are going to be marked as to do. That'll do. And we'll come back to those when we're working probably on tile sets and maybe supporting some shifting tile sets, because that'll be something that we almost certainly want to support. So, the first thing that we need to do here, of course, is our from UDP message. The only things that we're expecting right now is tile set and seed, and we may get more information than that, but for right now, that would probably not be the case. So all we need to do is say that this is in the form of map, opening and closing curly bracket, and inside of that we've got seed equals some random number, it doesn't really matter. And then we've got tile set equals, and we're expecting that right now to be 0. Although in theory that could be any number, as long as that's our number of tile sets. So let's just go ahead and say if message.substring 04 is not equal to map, which should, in theory, never ever happen because representation manager checks that as well and before it sends it here. But we'll just do this in case we're doing it somewhere other than representation manager. We'll see about doing it this way. So this isn't a map message otherwise, so we should do debug.log error map.fromUDP message received an invalid map update, and then we're just going to debug.log message, and then we'll return. It's invalid, so there's nothing we can do with it. Wonderful. Next, we should remove the header and trailing single curly brace. And of course, that's the only curly brace, which is just this guy right here. So, wonderful. We'll just say message equals message.substring, and we'll go from position 5 to message.length minus 6. I think. Hang on a moment. Is that... This is... No, it should be position... I think I've confused myself. For right now, we're going to debug.log test plus message. I wanted a semicolon. Thank you, Visual Studio. Okay, we'll see if this is correct. And if not, we'll fix that. For some reason, I'm thinking that this should be 4. But I think that would include this? So we'll see. We'll check that when we test this here in a moment, actually. We're getting pretty close to done with this episode already. It's kind of a short one, but that's okay. I could use a bit of a break, honestly. So we're going to do string segments equals message.split, and this is going to be splitting on the commas. So that splits us into this segment and this segment right here. And then we're going to say... why did I do a curly brace there? I don't know why I did that. I guess we'll use it for int I equals 0. I is less than segments dot length I++. We are then going to say string parts equals segments I dot split, and we'll split that along the equals. So that just splits us into seed and our number, and tile set and our number. Wonderful. Now we'll do switch parts 0 case seed equals int.parse, and we will parse parts 1 and break. Excellent. That gets us our that gets us our integer there. And then we will do case tile set. And in our tile set here, all we're going to do is we are going to do basically the same thing. Tile set equals, we'll cast it over to tile sets, int.parse parts. Nope. Parts 1. There we go. A million typos, but we got there in the end. For default, all we're going to do is debug.log error, and we're going to call this map.fromUDP message received an unknown segment. And that's not in quotes, so we should make it be in quotes, otherwise it's never going to work. There we go. Much better. Okay, so let's test this and see if this does what I think it does. I'm pretty sure it works, but I'm kind of second-guessing myself here. But that should be the map framework we need. Let's just turn off the options modal for now. Okay, and then we're going to need to fire up the server. There we go. And we will get logged in here. We've got our latency at 500. That doesn't matter. It'll just slow us down a little bit. Okay. Received unknown segments. Yes. I was correct. This does need to be on 4. Okay, so we can get rid of that message, and we can shut down the server and restart that. And we'll run this again. And we'll get logged in as soon as the encryption handshake is done. And in theory, we shouldn't see anything come up in the log other than the encryption handshake, which is now done. Format exception. Input string was not in a correct format. Okay. So that came in map line 42. We'll shut down the server quickly. Nope, wrong button. We'll shut down the server. Line 42. Okay, so that came in right there. We'll go ahead and say debug.log. We're just going to log out the segments I want to just see what this is. It had an issue with tile set. This is the problem. That needs to be message.length -5 to get rid of this guy. It was taking off the 0 as well. Yeah, that was 100% the problem. I'm actually going to get rid of this debug log because I know for a fact that that was the issue. We'll fire this up, and we should not see any issues with that. We'll log in as soon as the encryption handshake is done here. Excellent. No issues. Of course, we still have a little bit of jitter, but to some degree that can't be helped. I mean, it can be helped better than this, but there's just a little work to do on that yet. But that's not what we're concerned about right now. We can see that the map successfully got its seed, and it's in test tile set here. And actually, if we were to run the game with it in unused tile set, just to verify that that bit works, we'll restart the server and log back in. We should see that it changes to test tile set and sets the seed to something entirely different. Of course, we're not doing the map building or the tile sets or anything like that this episode. This is just the client-server communication protocol. Yep, it changed to test tile set. Wonderful. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut down the server here. And let's pull open our to-dos here. And that would be maps done. Of course, tile sets is something that we're going to need, and we should put that probably about right here. Tile sets. Map building. Those would both go right around here. Collision detection would probably be after map building. The options menu, honestly, it kind of doesn't matter when we do this, as long as it's, you know, at a time in the future. So we'll place it down there for right now, and yeah, that seems okay. Logging out is something that we could theoretically support pretty simply, as long, well, really at the same time as graceful failure and check for client timeout. Both of those would be a thing that would happen basically all at once. But I think I've come to a bit of a conclusion here on this series. Like, we're not done with the series, don't get me wrong, but I think I've come to the conclusion that it's a little much to be doing as much prep work as I've been doing for this every single day. So what we're going to do is kind of what I talked about doing previously, except I'm going to expand it a little bit. So Monday through Friday, which of course today it's coming out on a Saturday, so that's a thing. This is a bit of a non-standard one, but it's also kind of a shorter episode. So on Saturdays going forward, I think we're going to work on bug fixing, and on Sundays going forward, we're going to work on to-dos and general maintenance. So next up, of course, is a maintenance episode. And the maintenance episode, well, I don't know if they're going to both be live programming. There might be some, there might not be. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling. Like, some of the things are going to need to happen off camera, because there's probably going to be a lot of API looking up and troubleshooting, like, for example, switching RSA libraries. That's probably going to be a thing that's going to have to wait. So, yeah. Next episode is going to be maintenance, so that is something that we can look forward to next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.